Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always excited to delve into some new material.
Okay, well, today we're traveling back in time to the Italian Renaissance.
Oh, the Renaissance. Fantastic.
But we're focusing on a figure you might not know much about, Mario Equicola.
Equicola. Rings a bell, but maybe not as prominent as, say, a Michelangelo.
Exactly. He was more than just a writer, though. We're going to look at a really interesting scholarly article. It's called a Lettere di Mario Equicola a Isabella d'Este.
Letters of Mario Equicola to Isabella d'Este. Sounds promising. Where's this article from?
It's from the journal Atti e Memorie dell'Arcadia. And, get this, it examines his letters to Isabella d'Este.
Ah, Isabella d'Este, the Marchesa of Mantua. Now we're talking.
She was quite a figure, wasn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Known for her intelligence, her political savvy, and let's not forget her incredible art collection.
A true Renaissance woman.
A patron of the arts, a power player in Italian politics, the whole package.
So through these letters, we're going to uncover Equicola's different roles. Like, he was a secretary, a diplomat, and a confidant, especially during the crazy time of the Italian Wars.
The Italian Wars, what a tumultuous period. I can only imagine the kind of insights these letters might hold.
It's easy to think of Renaissance figures like, Equicola, Ariosto, Castiglione, just as artists.
Right, the stereotypical Renaissance man image.
But this article really challenges that kind of limited view.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, they were all super involved in the political and military landscape of their time.
Ah, so they weren't just creating masterpieces in their studios. They were out there in the thick of things.
Exactly. And the article even has this quote, figures like Boiardo, Ariosto, Castiglione, but also Equicola himself, albeit to a lesser extent, cannot be considered solely as men of letters. Such a label is the result of a limited vision that considers, or at least highlights, only their artistic production.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. So they were using their skills for their patrons, navigating complex situations, playing the game of power.
Exactly. It wasn't just about art. It was about survival, influence, all of that.
It's fascinating to think how this connects to Baldassare Castiglione's The Book of the Courtier.
Oh, yeah, the famous Guide to Courtly Life.
He outlines the ideal courtier as someone who embodies both military prowess and intellectual ability.
The ultimate multitasker.
And of course, with a strong emphasis on loyalty.
So like a Renaissance man, but with a heavy dose of political maneuvering.
Exactly. And it seems like Equicola really embodied those qualities, especially in his relationship with Isabella d'Este.
Right, their connection is so intriguing. But first, when did they even meet?
Well, the article mentions there's some uncertainty about that first encounter.
Ah, the mysteries of history.
It was likely in the early 1500s when Equicola was traveling with Sigismondo Cantelmo.
Okay, and the earliest letter we have is a birthday letter from Equicola to Isabella in 1503.
A birthday letter. What was it like? Full of flowery language, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It's a perfect example of that courtly etiquette, elegant language, declarations of loyalty.
Playing the courtly game.
And he even includes a gift of commandments pledging his allegiance to Isabella.
Wow, going all out. But was Isabella, with her sharp mind, actually buying all this flattery? Or did she genuinely value Equicola's loyalty?
Well, I think she recognized his talent, definitely, and she saw his potential value to her court. Just a few years later, in 1506, Margherita Cantelmo gave Isabella a work by Equicola.
Oh, interesting. What was it about?
It explained her motto, nex benecmetu, meaning neither with hope nor fear.
What a motto. And Isabella's reaction to this gift?
Well, she wrote back saying it was more welcome than any gift of gold.
More welcome than any gift of gold. That's high praise indeed. Clearly, she saw something special in him and his intellect and insight.
So initially, we see him as a tutor, a wordsmith, but it sounds like he was becoming a trusted advisor, too.
That's right. And this is where we start to see his role as, well, a source of information and maybe even a little bit of gossip.
Woo! Gossip! I love a good courtly scandal.
Well, there's this letter from 1508 where Equicola spills the tea about some art world drama involving Lucrezia Borgia.
Lucrezia Borgia. Now, that's a name that sparks some intrigue. What was she up to?
Lucrezia, the Duchess of Ferrara and Isabella's sister-in-law, was trying to get her hands on some works by the poet Niccolò di Correggio.
Correggio, not a bad choice.
But here's the kicker. Isabella was also interested in those same works.
Oh no, talk about a rivalry.
Imagine the tension between these two powerful women.
You can almost hear Isabella saying, oh no, she didn't, when she read that letter.
And Equicola, well, he clearly relished his role as an informant, keeping Isabella in the loop,
And he even throws in this little shady comment about Lucrezia's ambition.
which, of course, makes it all the more entertaining for us.
It adds so much color to their relationship and the whole dynamic of the court.
It's those little details that really bring history to life, you know? But things were about to get even more intense as the Italian wars started heating up.
The Italian Wars, yeah, a tangled web of alliances, betrayals, power struggles.
It must have been a crazy time to navigate, even for the most skilled courtier.
Absolutely. But luckily for us, Equicola's letters give us this firsthand account of those chaotic times.
Front row seats to history. What kind of things does he write about?
Oh, all sorts of things. He describes troop movements, reports on all the shifting allegiances.
Keeping Isabella informed.
He even details the siege of Mirandola in 1511. Wait, isn't that Isabella's brother, Alfonso d'Este, fighting against her husband, Francesco Gonzaga?
Yep. The Italian wars were so complex. Families often found themselves on opposing sides, which made loyalty a very tricky thing.
Wow, talk about family drama. So in one letter from Sermide in 1510, Equicola shows he really understands military matters.
A military mind, too.
He gives this incredibly detailed account of the Franco-Ferraran army's movements and strategies.
It's amazing how he goes from courtly gossip to war correspondent so seamlessly.
Right. Shows how adaptable and intelligent he was.
He was a man of many talents, clearly. And his frequent travels, well, they brought him close to Duke Alfonso d'Este in Ferrara.
Oh, so he was familiar with the court in Ferrara.
Very much so. And I think that familiarity is why Isabella trusted his observations. Speaking of Alfonso, there's this rather amusing anecdote about him getting injured at the Battle of Cento in 1512.
Oh, tell me more. I love a good anecdote.
Alfonso suffers a head injury, and as a gesture of solidarity, everyone at court decides to shave their heads.
Oh, wow. Talk about taking one for the team.
But Equicola, never one to miss a fashion opportunity, writes to Isabella asking for a stylish head covering.
Of course he does.
You know, since he had to shave his head too, naturally.
This is so great. It highlights the performative nature of courtly life.
Right. Even something as personal as a head injury becomes this public display.
And those little details, they really humanize these historical figures, don't they?
They do. They remind us these were real people dealing with extraordinary circumstances. We see their personalities, their humor, their vulnerabilities.
So we have war, political intrigue, a gossipy courtier who is also becoming a trusted advisor. Where does his diplomatic role come in?
Well, remember Fabrizio Colonna,
Colonna, Raimi.
a key military leader allied with Alfonso. He was captured during the Battle of Ravenna. Equicola actually played a part in accompanying the injured Colonna to Rome to seek a papal pardon from Pope Julius II for Alfonso.
So he's not just an observer now, he's actively involved in these high-stakes negotiations.
Exactly. And his descriptions of their grand welcome into Rome, they really paint a vivid picture of that political scene.
Rome in 1512, I can only imagine.
Oh, it was a whirlwind. He describes the city buzzing with anticipation for Alfonso's arrival, with the rival Colonna and Orsini families vying for influence.
It sounds like a scene straight out of a Renaissance drama. So were the negotiations for the papal pardon straightforward?
Not at all. Equicola gives us all these details about the negotiations, like they were strategizing wording, dealing with papal demands, even planning the musical cues for the ceremony.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They were meticulous. But there was a lot of tension between Alfonso and Pope Julius II.
Oh, I bet. What was the sticking point?
Well, the Pope demanded Ferrara in exchange for the pardon. Classic power play.
Oh, wow, that's a big ask. How did Alfonso react to that?
He refused, of course,
Mm-hmm.
showcasing his resolve, even in this super precarious situation. Equicola makes it clear that Alfonso was not going to compromise his territory. It's a real cliffhanger. We're left wondering how this standoff is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And then to make things even more complicated, Pope Julius II dies.
A new pope. This changes everything.
It certainly does. New challenges, new opportunities.
So, new pope, new game. I bet Equicola was ready.
Oh, he was always a step ahead. When Pope Leo X came to power in 1513, Equicola, well, he used his knowledge of classical literature, you see, and quickly adapted some of Lucan's verses to flatter the new pope.
He knew how to play to his audience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What else can you tell us about this Pope Leo X?
Equicola. He noticed Leo X's taste for extravagance, especially his desire for a jewel-encrusted Camaro. Oh, that's the papal path. This little detail, it tells us a lot about the over-the-top lifestyle of the papal court.
It does. So much for humility, huh?
Yeah.
But back to Alfonso. Was he able to get a pardon from this new pope?
He did return to Rome, and Equicola, always the fashion critic, gives us a detailed description of his attire.
Of course he does. But the issue of Reggio Emilia, well, that was still a major problem.
Yes, it was. This is where those historical claims get really complicated.
A tangled web, right?
Absolutely. A mix of inheritance laws, political maneuvering, you name it. But Equicola, he doesn't just report the events. He actually gives a really well-reasoned argument against the Pope's claim to Reggio Emilia.
So he wasn't just a messenger, he was analyzing, advising. That must have been valuable for Isabella?
Oh, incredibly so. His insights and perspectives, they really elevate him from a mere observer to a trusted advisor. And then we come to another intriguing chapter. Federico Gonzaga, Isabella's son, is appointed captain of the church in 1521.
Captain of the church. That sounds important. What did that even mean in the context of the Italian wars?
Basically, Federico was leading the papal armies.
So, right at the heart of the conflicts.
Exactly. And Equicola's letters, well, they reflect this change. They become more urgent, packed with details about the military situation.
It's interesting how Equicola's writing style changes with the situation, like from elegant courtly letters to these almost urgent dispatches from the front.
It shows how dedicated he was to keeping Isabella informed.
So he describes the siege of Parma.
Yes, a dramatic event. There were disagreements about the best military strategy, and Federico, he took a bold stance against retreating.
He was a young man then, right?
He was. And we see his courage, his determination through Equicola's eyes.
I see. So he's not just reporting, he's shaping how Isabella might perceive the events, especially her son's actions.
Exactly. And remember, Federico was still young. His actions in this campaign, they really marked him as a rising star, something Equicola emphasizes in his letters.
It's like we're witnessing the making of a Renaissance hero. But even amidst the chaos of war, Equicola still finds time to share some lighter moments, doesn't he?
Oh, he always does. He vividly describes the banner consecration ceremony with its rich fabrics, the trumpet fanfare, that symbolic handing of the baton of command to Federico.
It's a scene straight out of a movie. It captures the pageantry and drama of the Renaissance. But with all the battles and politics, did you have a favorite anecdote from this period?
Oh, the story of the night clock is fantastic. Equicola, always attentive, was trying to get a night clock for Pescara.
Pescara, who was that again?
He was another prominent military leader. But anyway, Federico overhears this and decides to one-up Equicola, gifting Pescara an even more impressive timepiece.
Uh-huh. That's a great story. Tells us a lot about their personalities.
It does. Pescara's desire for a precise timepiece, Equicola's willingness to help, and Federico's competitive spirit. It's all there. Sadly, though, Equicola's time on the front lines had to end.
Oh, right. He gets sick.
He does, and has to leave the battlefield. This marks the end of those first-hand accounts, which is a shame because the Italian wars, they raged on.
It does feel incomplete, yeah.
Like a TV series ending on a cliffhanger. The article mentions the capture of Milan and the death of Pope Leo X, but without Equicola's perspective, well, it's just not the same.
So, taking a step back, what are some key takeaways from this deep dive into Equicola's world?
It's a good reminder that history is made up of individual stories, like Equicola's. His letters, with all those personal observations and biases, they offer a counterpoint to the grand narratives of the Italian wars.
It's like peeking behind the curtain of history.
Exactly. We see the human side of these events, those relationships, and the choices people made. And it highlights how crucial primary sources like letters are for historical research.
They let us go beyond the official accounts.
And delve into the lived experiences of those who shaped these events. It's one thing to read about a battle in a textbook, but to read a first-hand account from someone who was there,
It's completely different.
it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
So, what does Equicola's perspective tell us about life as a courtier in the Italian Renaissance? What stands out to you?
Well, for me, it's the importance of intellect and adaptability.
That's a good point. Courtiers, they weren't just decorative figures. They had to be intelligent, well-informed, and skilled in navigating the treacherous waters of court politics.
Wearing many hats, so to speak.
Exactly. And Equicola is the perfect example. Writing eloquent letters, analyzing military strategy, offering fashion advice, gossiping about art. He was constantly adapting to the situation.
And his loyalty to his patrons.
Yes. He served Isabella d'Este and her son, Federico, with unwavering dedication. Loyalty was everything in that world. And Equicola's actions, well, they show just how deep his commitment was. He constantly advocated for their interests, putting himself at risk, even traveling to Rome during the war to negotiate for Alfonso's pardon. And he stayed by Federico's side, even when facing illness and danger.
It's impressive. And his letters, they also provide this fascinating glimpse into the cultural side of the Renaissance, the art, the poetry, the fashion. He clearly appreciated the beauty and intellectual achievements of that era.
A true Renaissance man, embracing everything that time had to offer. It makes you wonder, what other hidden gems are out there? What other personal accounts could give us new insights to this era?
It's exciting to think about all the untold stories that are still waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, it really makes you think, History isn't just about kings and queens and all those battles.
Right, it's about people like Equicola.
Now, all their experiences and choices, actually shape things. Their stories are what make the past come alive for us, help us connect with it.
It's easy to get caught up in those big narratives.
But those little details, those glimpses into people's lives, that's the good stuff.
It really enriches our understanding.
Definitely.
And Equicola, he was far from ordinary.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving through all these different circles, offering his skills to powerful people. What surprised you the most about him?
Honestly, his resilience and, his sense of humor.
He never lost that.
Here's a man dealing with war, with political intrigue, with personal risk, but he still finds those moments of lightness.
He does.
He's asking for fashion advice, gossiping about art, even poking fun at, the absurdity of it all.
It's a good reminder, even in the toughest times, people find ways to connect, to find joy.
Absolutely. It makes these historical figures so much more relatable,
They weren't just names in a book.
They were real people with hopes, fears, and, like you said, a sense of humor.
As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Equicola's story, his take on the Italian Renaissance. What does it tell us about how personal stories shape our understanding of history?
I think it shows us that history isn't just about dates and battles, right? It's about people. And it's through their stories, their experiences, that we can truly connect with the past.
His story makes me wonder, how we all contribute to that ongoing narrative of history, our letters, our emails, even our social media posts.
Right. All those things could become primary sources one day.
It's a bit mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. We're all creating our own personal archives, in a way.
So whether it's a scholarly article, a personal diary, a conversation with someone who, lived through something big.
We should always seek out those diverse voices, those unique perspectives.
Because they add depth and nuance to how we understand history.
They're the threads that weave together the tapestry of the past.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the power of those personal narratives. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Mario Equicola. Until next time.